You think a blackout is just the lights going out. That's the lie everyone believes. Right up until the moment the world starts quietly falling apart around them. Because when the power dies everywhere, not just your street, but entire regions, the first things that fail aren't dramatic explosions or instant chaos. It's the invisible systems you depend on every minute without even realizing it. And once they go, everything else follows faster than your brain can catch up. The first thing that fails isn't electricity itself. It's time. Your sense of it, your schedule, your rhythm. The moment the grid goes dark, clocks drift, phones die, alarms don't ring, and suddenly there's no shared now. You don't wake up together anymore. You don't eat together. You don't move together. Humans are synchronized creatures, and when synchronization collapses, coordination goes with it. Missed insulin doses, missed medications, missed check-ins with family. This is why the first 24 hours of a blackout feels strangely disorienting, not terrifying. Your body is waiting for cues that never come. That confusion is dangerous because it delays action, and in survival, delay kills faster than panic. The next failure is communication, and it doesn't happen all at once. You'll still have bars for a while. Messages will go through, slowly. Then calls fail. Then data crawls. Cell towers have backup power, but that power is measured in hours, sometimes days if you're lucky. What people don't realize is that those towers rely on fuel deliveries, maintenance crews, and network coordination. When traffic lights fail and fuel pumps stop working, the technicians can't reach the towers. The silence creeps in. Families separated by 10 miles might as well be on different continents. Emergency services lose real-time data. Rumors fill the gap where information used to be. Humans are terrible at surviving on rumors. Then water starts to lie to you. You turn the tap, and it still works, for a while. That's the most dangerous phase. Municipal water systems rely on electrically powered pumps and pressure systems. When backup generators run out or fail, pressure drops. Contaminants seep in through cracks you never knew existed. Clear water does not mean safe water. This is where people make fatal mistakes, assuming that because the water looks normal, it is normal. Diarrheal illness, dehydration, and infection spike not days later, but quietly within the first week. This is why every military and disaster survival manual treats water security as more important than food. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. After water, refrigeration fails, and with it, modern food logic. Your freezer becomes a ticking clock. Meat, dairy, leftovers, all of it starts to rot in silence. The smell comes later. The real danger comes first. Bacteria you can't taste. People try to save food by cooking spoiled items, not realizing that some toxins survive heat. The irony is brutal. People surrounded by calories get sick, while those who ration dry goods survive. The science here is simple biology. Bacteria multiply exponentially when temperatures rise, and your nose is not a reliable sensor. In prolonged blackouts, food poisoning becomes a leading cause of weakness and death, not starvation. Then money fails, not in the dramatic stock market way, but in your pocket. Cards don't swipe. ATMs go dark. Digital wallets become icons on dead screens. Cash briefly becomes king, then useless once stores can't restock or secure themselves. Supply chains are electrical systems wearing human faces. No power means no inventory tracking, no logistics, no deliveries. Within days, shelves empty, not because of greed, but because the system that refills them has collapsed. This is when looting isn't driven by malice, but by fear. The psychology is predictable. When people can't trade, they take. When they take, trust evaporates. Healthcare fails next, and this one is quiet and terrifying. Hospitals have generators, yes, but not infinite ones. Dialysis machines, ventilators, refrigeration for medications, digital records. All of it strains backup systems. Chronic conditions become emergencies overnight. A minor infection becomes lethal without antibiotics. A simple cut becomes a systemic threat. This is where survival stops being about toughness and starts being about preparation and prevention. Avoiding injury becomes more important than treating it. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. Finally, the most dangerous failure happens inside your head. Decision-making degrades. Stress hormones flood your system for days, then crash. People either freeze or take reckless risks to end the uncertainty. You'll see smart people make unbelievably bad choices because the human brain is not designed for prolonged ambiguity. This is why experienced survivalists focus on routines, boiling water at the same time every day, checking supplies methodically, sleeping when the sun goes down. Structure isn't comfort, it's neurological armor. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Surviving a total blackout isn't about gear, weapons, or toughness. It's about understanding which systems collapse first and stepping out of their blast radius early. Time, communication, water, food safety, money, healthcare, and finally, your own psychology. Miss one, and the others collapse faster. Get ahead of them, and you don't just survive, you stay human while others unravel. And staying human is the hardest part, because once the blackout stretches from hours into days, the environment starts reshaping behavior in ways most people have never trained for. The city you thought you knew turns unfamiliar. Streets get quieter, then strangely tense. At night, darkness stops feeling romantic and starts feeling absolute. Without ambient light, your depth perception changes. Shadows move differently. Your brain fills gaps with threats that may or may not exist. This is where exhaustion quietly sabotages you. People stay awake too long, guarding things that aren't under threat yet, burning calories and judgment at the same time. Sleep deprivation lowers reaction time, increases paranoia, and destroys impulse control. From a biological standpoint, this is catastrophic because your body under stress already consumes more energy. Staying awake feels productive, but it accelerates collapse from the inside. This is also the moment when fire becomes both a savior and a killer. People rediscover candles, grills, improvised stoves. Heat, light, cooked food. It feels like progress. But modern homes are not designed for indoor flame. Carbon monoxide doesn't announce itself. It doesn't smell dramatic. It simply replaces oxygen until your brain shuts down. Every major blackout in history shows the same spike. Accidental poisonings and house fires caused by people trying to recreate pre-electric comfort in post-electric spaces. Survival science here is brutally simple physics and chemistry. Combustion consumes oxygen and produces gases your body cannot tolerate. Ventilation is not optional. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. As days pass, sanitation fails in ways people don't emotionally register until it's too late. Toilets rely on water pressure. Sewage systems rely on pumps. When those stop, waste doesn't disappear. It accumulates. People improvise poorly, contaminating living spaces without realizing it. Disease vectors don't need apocalypse-level filth. They thrive in small, repeated mistakes. Hands not washed. Surfaces reused. Water cross-contaminated. The survival insight here is counterintuitive. Cleanliness becomes more important when resources are scarce, not less. Simple routines. Designated waste areas, strict hand hygiene, separation of clean and dirty zones save more lives than stockpiled food ever will. Then comes the shift in social dynamics. At first, neighbors talk. They share information, candles, maybe a meal. That phase is fragile. Once scarcity becomes real, generosity narrows to circles of trust. Groups form. Outsiders are viewed with suspicion. This isn't moral failure. It's evolutionary psychology. Humans evolved to survive in small, cooperative bands under threat. The danger is assuming this won't happen around you. The smartest survivors don't isolate completely, but they don't overexpose either. They trade information more than resources. They observe before they commit. They understand that in a blackout, visibility is leverage. Being loud, obvious, or emotionally reactive makes you memorable, and not in a good way. Another system that quietly fails is navigation. GPS dies with your phone. Streetlights vanish. Landmarks look different in darkness or daylight-only travel. People get lost in their own neighborhoods. This isn't stupidity, it's dependency. Your brain outsourced spatial memory to technology, and now it's offline. The fix isn't complex, it's analog thinking. Paper maps, mental landmarks, walking routes during daylight to memorize terrain. Military survival training emphasizes this because disorientation increases exposure time, and exposure time increases risk. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. Food scarcity changes metabolism faster than people expect. When intake drops and stress rises, your body prioritizes immediate energy. Blood sugar swings. Mood crashes. People misinterpret this as emotional weakness instead of physiology. The survival move here is pacing. Smaller, regular meals rather than feast and starve cycles. Hydration before hunger. Salt preservation to maintain electrolyte balance. These aren't comfort strategies. They're biological stabilizers that keep your brain functional under pressure. And then there's noise, or the lack of it. In a total blackout, silence becomes information. Engines, generators, voices, even footsteps carry farther. Sound travels differently without background hum. People who don't understand this broadcast their presence without realizing it. Experienced survivors learn to listen more than they move. They time actions with environmental noise, wind, rain, distant activity. This isn't paranoia, it's situational awareness, and it dramatically reduces unwanted encounters. Eventually, the blackout stops being something you're waiting out and becomes the environment you're living in. That mental shift matters. The people who survive longest are not the strongest or the most aggressive. They're the ones who accept the new rules fastest. They stop hoping for immediate restoration and start building sustainability, even if it's temporary. Boiling water becomes automatic. Waste management becomes routine. Sleep aligns with daylight. Decision-making slows down on purpose. Here's the final truth most people never hear. A total blackout doesn't end civilization overnight. It strips away the layers that made life effortless and exposes how dependent we became on invisible systems. The people who fail first aren't unprepared because they lacked supplies. They fail because they didn't understand sequence. What breaks first matters more than what breaks eventually. And now you know the order. If you remember nothing else, remember this. The blackout doesn't kill you. The mistakes you make in the dark do.